Working with clients from across the country has been an absolute pleasure. Whether that's the Southeast, Northwest, the West Coast, or the South. I haven't worked with too many people from up north, but am working with a set of clients from South Dakota right now. So I guess you can consider that a little bit higher up in the north area. But it's really fun to have those conversations about differences in culture, expectations about the houses that they're gonna buy, whether that's in Virginia, coming from a $500,000, 5-acre, 4,000 square foot house, to now you're looking at more of a $500,000, quarter-acre, 3,000 square foot house. So setting expectations, understanding where people are coming from, what they're going to miss, why they are coming to Fort Collins in Northern Colorado has been just a joy. And just recently we made a video of moving from Florida to Colorado. And today we are going to talk about specifically moving from Chicago to Colorado. I had the joy of working with a couple, a family, beautiful family from Chicago who just recently purchased and are making their way here to Fort Collins. And so I reached out to them and wanted to ask what they are going to miss, look forward to, and enjoy the most about being here in Northern Colorado. What's up, everybody? My name is Patrick Soukup with Soukup Real Estate Services here in Fort Collins, Colorado. And if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing if what you're looking at learning is everything Northern Colorado. Eating, sleeping, playing, working, traveling. And if at the end of the video you've enjoyed the content, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, engage, interact. It really means a lot. And as much as I like making these YouTube videos for real estate, we like more when buyers, sellers, and investors for all their real estate needs. So feel free to give me a call, text, or email if you find yourself relocating, moving, or selling here in Northern Colorado. Without any further delay, let's jump into moving from Chicago to Colorado, Fort Collins. Enjoy. So like last video, I asked a client to answer 3 questions. What they're going to miss, what they're most excited for, and maybe what they didn't know about moving to Northern Colorado and Fort Collins. So I'm gonna kind of go through what their list was and give my 2 cents about how that corresponds to Fort Collins and Northern Colorado. So moving from Chicago to Fort Collins, here we go. We're gonna miss the lunches and different restaurants, specifically different cuisines from different nationalities. Costa Rica, a Costa Rican restaurant, and Spanish, Hispanic. And I would say that Fort Collins definitely has Hispanic food, Mexican, Chinese food, Italian, Thai, but definitely could use some more, and maybe not necessarily the ability to walk to these restaurants. And that's definitely one thing that these guys are going to miss moving from Chicago to Fort Collins, is the ability to walk out your door and walk to the restaurant. There's just not a ton of walkability here in Fort Collins. Going for runs along the lake, well, definitely going to be something to where you can go for a run, across and up and down the Horsetooth Dams, around different lakes here in Fort Collins, but definitely not going to be the lakes that they have over there in Chicago, the beauty and the size. Taking the L around the city. Fort Collins, as I've talked about in many different videos, does not have the best public transportation, but getting a little bit better. We are putting money and resources to our public transportation, and actually just recently talked with an individual who sold one of their vehicles. They only have 1 vehicle per the family. And then from there, they're taking the Max Transit for $150 a year. Actually, this was a senior citizen, so they actually get it for $25 per year. And if that doesn't work, then they ride their bike. So definitely possible to do less car driving than maybe once I originally said, but I just haven't committed to that with my lifestyle. Lincoln Park Zoo. We do not have a zoo here in Fort Collins. The closest zoo is the Denver Zoo, about an hour away. Pretty awesome zoo, but again, you're gonna have to take a trip about an hour away, hang with the kids for the day, and then on the way back, hopefully they pass out on the way home. The museums, Fort Collins has a couple museums that you can go check out, but I'm sure nothing compared to a city the size of Chicago, so definitely can't compete there. Bike rides to Wrigley Field. Again, Coors Field is going to be the closest baseball field for Fort Collins, and other than that, we really don't have too much professional sports. The Eagles play a minor league hockey nearby, and there is also some minor league soccer going on, but no major sports, and definitely not the Chicago Cubs outside your back door. Free concerts at Millennium Park. Well, I can definitely say that one thing that we do have, and we just actually had, was the Taste of Fort Collins. Nelly came to perform, which, growing up in the 90s was a pretty, important rapper in my life. But we do have a ton of music and culture here. That is definitely something that I would say we pride ourselves on, is the arts and culture and music. But again, maybe not necessarily the caliber of performers that a big metro would have, like Chicago. They're gonna miss friends and family, obviously. I definitely can't replace those. So I think if you're moving from anywhere, whether that's north, south, east, west, and you're moving away from family, it's definitely something that's going to be a major shift change for you. Some of the things that this family is looking forward to moving from Chicago to Fort Collins is the Mish, driving to Estes Park, fishing in the Pooter, walks along the foothills, hanging out at Horsetooth, the breweries, going skiing only about three hours away to Breck and Keystone, maybe 3.5 hours to Steamboat, depending on whether you would want to jump onto I-70 or head up the Pooter. Camping in the Rockies, the sunshine. It was funny when we were talking with these clients that were moving from Chicago, I'd send them a picture every now and again about what it would look like on, during January, February. We'd get a big snow, but then it would be gone a week later. And it was a funny conversation, because in Chicago, when you get a snow, from my understanding, that snow is gonna stick for a long time. So not necessarily something that we're used to here in Fort Collins. We can have a pretty decent lows for the temperatures, which then the snow will stick around for a little bit. But even with the lows, we got that sunshine, and so you're going to be able to see that snow melt pretty quick. Milder winters, doing things in the snow when it snows. Absolutely, especially during the spring snows. It gets warm, so you can go out there and throw your kids around, go sledding, and again, with the dry cold, so long as you're dressed appropriately, you should be able to handle it pretty well. You get your face shoved into the snow, it's gonna get cold, but just standing outside, being able to walk your dogs, being dressed appropriately, the snow, the milder winters, I would have to agree with them. Things that they weren't necessarily expecting. The weather can be dramatically different depending on your proximity to the foothills. Sure, yeah, absolutely. I would say east of I-25, it feels like a different climate almost than west of I-25. You get a little bit more wind, seemingly more hail, but the foothills kind of protect you, but we definitely get more snow along the foothills, both Fort Collins and Loveland. So again, there's definitely a little bit of a climate change with those foothills kind of coming into play when you're talking about different weather patterns. Far is considered an hour-long drive, absolutely, especially here in Fort Collins. Growing up, being a native, I am not used to more than 15 to 20 minutes. So if I gotta go, I actually probably don't take advantage of Denver as often as I probably should. It's really only about an hour away, and that's not that far. Sure, we might get stuck in traffic here and there, and that hour might turn into an hour and a half. But on your typical day, you can get down to Denver in an hour, to the Rockies games in an hour, Elages, but maybe I'm spoiled and am not used to driving and just don't like being in a car all that long. My dad is completely opposite, drove to Aspen one day and back. That's a 10-hour drive in the car. So maybe to each their own, but for me, yeah, far is absolutely an hour. How to pronounce Poudre, P-O-U-D-R-E. That is Pooter, Cache La Poudre River. A lot of people are La Poudre, and maybe I'm pronouncing it wrong. Maybe we're pronouncing it wrong here in Fort Collins, but the locals pronounce it Pooter. So if you're gonna move here from anywhere, whether that's Chicago, the Northeast, Southeast, the West Coast, Northwest, wherever that might be, South, come in and don't stick out like a sore thumb. Pronounce it Pooter, the Poudre River. Just how close Horsetooth Reservoir is and Horsetooth Rock. Absolutely, 15, 20 minutes, you're at the foot of the mountain ready to rock, going for a day's hike for sure. Very urban and rural experiences just a few miles apart. Yes, on the northwest side of town specifically, it gets pretty rural pretty quick. You become into half-acre lots, three-quarter-acre lots, and maybe a little bit more older homes, potentially more run down, and just 4 miles, 3 miles to the east of that is the middle of downtown. The last two things, how logistically hard it is to get to the airport if you don't want to drive. We do have some options. The green shuttle picks us up. You do have options, but they can get pricey, and you definitely want to know the different routes. So reach out to somebody, such as myself, if you're looking at leveraging those carless opportunities to get from the airport to Northern Colorado, specifically Fort Collins, and we can make that happen. And finally, one thing that they weren't necessarily suspecting or understanding was the U+2 rule here in Fort Collins. We have something what's called U+2. So in a house, there can only be U+2 other unrelated individuals living there. And the idea behind it is to try to minimize multi-family housing situations in one property, and also we're college towns, so they only can have 3 renters in there. Technically only 3 renters, not get up to 4 or 5, and kind of avoid those parties, those crowds that kind of come with a larger household. So I thought that was kind of an interesting thing to see, that U+2, because it is unique. Even when I'm writing contracts for Windsor, Loveland, Wellington, I've got to always remember to pull that clause out, because we have to disclose the occupancy limits disclosure here in Fort Collins. So definitely something to consider if you are potentially wanting to have a multi-generational household living here in Fort Collins. Want to know those rules. So that's kind of the high points of what some of the things that they're going to miss moving from a big metro such as Chicago, some of the things that they're excited for, and the things that they're maybe not necessarily expecting when they're moving from Chicago to Fort Collins. And I think that could apply to a lot of major metros, but specifically the Midwest, the humidity and the Chicago Cubs comparatively to maybe the Colorado Rockies an hour away. So these are all super fun things to talk about, especially when we're having these car rides, when we're exploring the town together and discussing what a new life would look like for them here in Fort Collins. So hopefully this has helped you understand what it might look like moving from a major metro such as Chicago to Fort Collins. And if you have any questions, please ask them down in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed the content, give it a thumbs up and maybe even share it. Again, as much as we like making these real estate videos for YouTube, we do like working with clients to help buy, sell, and invest real estate here in Fort Collins. So give me a call, text, email, whatever it is. I've got your back when it comes to everything Fort Collins. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Until next time, guys, take care.